सबसे पहले ये रही स्टॉक्स की लिस्ट. एवरीथिंग इज ड्रिवन बाय एनालिसिस, एवरीथिंग इज ड्रिवन बाय डेटा, एवरीथिंग इज ड्रिवन बाय फैक्ट्स एंड थीसिस. बेसिकली SIPs वर्क रियली वेल इन अ. इसी के बारे में मैंने आपसे अभी बात करी थी. Hey guys, welcome to today's video. So on today's video, I'm going to do three things. Number one, I'm going to speak about the fact whether doing SIPs in today's market, does it make sense or not? Short answer is no, it does not make sense. I'll help you understand why. Number two, what is a better strategy of doing SIPs? I will speak about something called as step up and step down SIP using cash hedges. This is something that I've briefly touched upon on some of my open videos, but now this strategy becomes really critical. Number three, I have picked a list of 8 to 10 stocks where I will be SIPing my money, and I will talk a little bit about that portfolio. So let's begin the video, and let me first and foremost tell you what is the meaning of SIP and why SIP does not work in every kind of market, and why is this a controversial topic to discuss, because हर कोई तो बोलता रहता है SIP करते चलो करते चलो करते चलो. Okay, so let me first and foremost explain what SIP means. SIP means systematic investment plan. In very simple word, it means that every month you are putting certain amount of money into a list of mutual funds or a list of stocks or a list of assets that you trust on a monthly basis. Whether the market is going up, चाहे market is going down, crash आ जाए, growth हो जाए, you do not bother. Every month, 1st of the month, or you pick a random date, 5th of the month or 10th of the month, you keep on putting money on that specific date, that specific amount, irrespective of the market condition. Now this seems like a very weird way of investing money. Why am I saying weird way? Because it's very easy कि भाई कुछ भी होता है मार्केट में, I will just continue to run my SIP, and on a long term basis, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, I will make crazy amount of money. Now, will you make crazy amount of money? Will you not make crazy amount of money? People will show you different calculations, but here are practical points that you need to understand. Point number one is that SIP will not work in every single type of market. Let me first and foremost show you some examples, right? So let us begin the story by talking about Nifty 50 chart, which is the most trusted chart, so to say. And यहाँ पे देखते हैं कहानी from this phase, right? So for example, अगर आपने यहाँ पे करा होता है SIP, right? Now would you have made any money, right? Very less money you would have made, because the market stayed what? Market stayed sideways, right? So this entire phase gone, right? And here I'm looking at a fairly long period of time, right? So almost like 10-year basis, right? You did not make much money, right? This is point one. Now then comes the second phase, right? कि for example this was the phase 2008 से. So SIP करना आपने यहाँ पे शुरू किया. You lost money in this phase, right? Then there was recovery. Then the market stayed sideways, and till here you did not really make, and I will just mark these points between point A to B. You again did not make any crazy amount of money, right? So this was almost what, like 2008 से लेके 2014 तक, you again did not make much money. So this is two. But after 2014, 2015, markets have done something amazing, and let me highlight that by using this red line. So यहाँ से market बढ़ता गया, and SIP money और आता चला गया, right? And people made crazy ton of money. Now comes the controversial pick, because now if you speak with fund managers, there are a lot of people who promote SIPs. They will say that, you know what, boss, do not worry about the market. You cannot time the market. You cannot do XYZ in the market. Even the best of investors do not time the market. Vagera, 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 vagera. So please do not stop your SIPs. See, the person who actually gave the quote that never time the market is Mr. Warren Buffett. And he himself right now is sitting on record amount of cash. Okay, so the entire point that do not time the market and all that stuff, he must have said it in some context. People just took it to frame their narrative. So please do not believe in that. थोड़ा अपना logical analysis करके देखो. This is point one, and first controversial point or counter argument. The second key point is called as law of averages or law of mean reversal. Now mean reversal का मतलब क्या होता है कि for example मान के चलो this is the average, okay, average of anything. So the average of something is 50. Sometimes a batsman will score more than like 50 runs. They might score like 80. Then sometimes the batsman might score like only 30. Then 80, then 30, something like this, right? So there will be an entire graph, and this entire scatter plot will be there. And basically, if you have to guess that in the future, कि अच्छा भाई कितना बनाएगा वो batsman in this particular inning, it's like average, right? अब वो धनाधन every match he is scoring century, then the chances are कि what उसका गिर जाएगा जिससे कि उसका average उतना हो जाए वाली चीज़. So this concept is called as law of mean reversion. Now in market context, why this is important is कि यहाँ से यहाँ तक market has only increased in the last roughly 10 years. In fact, आप यहाँ से देखो क्योंकि यहाँ पे SIP का गेम डिड नॉट गिव यू बेनिफिट. सो यहाँ से देखते हैं. So in the last 10 years, roughly like 2014 to almost 2024, the markets have generally given more than the above average. So according to law of mean reversion, कि भाई अब chances are that in the next 10 years, if you are keeping a longer viewpoint, the chances are that hey, there will be reversion of the mean. On an average, market gives 12.5% returns, this Nifty 50. So अब हो ये सकता है कि in the next 10 years, from 2024 to 2034, we might only make like 8.5. क्यों? क्योंकि पिछले 10 सालों में market might have given like 15-16% CAGR. Okay, so this is the mathematics that you should know. On this broad maths only work. It's not as if that I can give you like exact numbers. Now why can I not give you exact numbers? Because of SIP के बारे में if you actually think, you yourself will understand कि see boss, when you start working, you might only be investing 10,000 rupees on SIPs. After 1-2 years, when your salary increase, you will increase that amount to 15,000. Then you increase that amount to like 25,000 of monthly investment, all that stuff. So आपको तो लगेगा यार मेरा तो पैसा बढ़ता चला जा रहा है, you know, overall मेरा portfolio बढ़ गया and all that stuff, because you have increased the base amount. So doing this SIP calculation is really, really complicated. One way of doing this is to look at the sideways movements, right? And avoiding these. जब आपको लगे कि यार market, you know what, in the broad range, it might go like something like this, right? In the long term basis, it will, you know, this type of a thing might happen. So in these type of markets, you need to be very careful, right? This is very, very important point. I'm just simply appealing to your logic. बाकी आपकी मर्जी है. It's your money. Whether you want to invest it properly, not invest it properly, it is completely your wish. I'm not saying that SIPs are bad. In fact, I am a proponent of SIPs. There is nothing wrong with it. But SIPs should typically be done either in a discounted market where you see the markets rising from this point very, very clearly over a 10-year basis, or in a fairly valued market. If you feel that on a short to mid-term basis the markets have become a little bit bloated, then maybe it might make sense to strategize your SIPs. Now this has been beautifully captured on this particular graph, right? And I will just show it to you. So here is what the SIP graph says. Basically, SIPs work really well in a growing market. इसी के बारे में मैंने आपसे अभी बात करी थी, right? कि if the market is rising, then the SIP will work wonderfully well. SIP will not work at all in a falling market, right? And on a sideways market, lump sum investment is what will work, right? So this is the basis or the macro basis on which you need to shape and refine your decisions and accordingly make bets. Now comes the second point that, okay, what would be a better strategy right now if you want to plan your SIPs? So a better way of doing an SIP right now would be called as step down cash plus lump sum strategy. Now what exactly is this? I've given you a flavor of this on my open videos. Now very humble request that many people keep on cribbing in the comment section that, you know what, Akshat, you repeat content, all that stuff. By repeating content is how you develop an acumen to implement things. I have built a $1 million plus profit portfolio in front of all of you in the last 2.5, 3 years. It's because of consolidation, because of constant enforcement of knowledge. This is very, very important to understand. आप conviction के साथ act ही नहीं कर सकते if you do not study these concepts over and over again. So please 2 minutes सुन लेना बात, right? And उसके बाद you can keep on cribbing and all that stuff. But please understand, this is not a stock recommendation channel. अगर आप 10 stock के नाम सुनते रहोगे from every channel and all that stuff, you'll buy like 1,000 rupees of every stock. Will it actually add to your net worth? The short answer is no. Money is made from confidence. Confidence comes from knowledge. Knowledge comes from reinforcement of principles and concepts. So please study this, okay? So anyways, the market right now is at 25,000, 26,000 के बीच में, okay? Now see, if it falls by a 10% margin, that's a great time to do lump sum, okay? Lump sum, right? If it goes up, now that's a great time to do cash. So this is a simple flow chart. Take a printout of it. Stick it wherever you are trading or wherever you are, the portal on which you are investing, just stick it in front of it और अपने desktop को wallpaper बना लो, okay? It's very, very simple. It's not that complicated. Now here, what you simply need to do is that let's say that you do a monthly SIP of 1 lakh rupee. मैं थोड़ा सा बड़ा amount ले लेता हूँ and you can just upgrade it or downgrade it by a factor of 10 or 5, how much ever money you are investing, okay? अगर आप 10,000 करते हो, just divide everything that I'm saying by 10, okay? Now 1 lakh rupee you are investing in the market. Now अभी आप करते रहो, ऐसी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, okay? Now in case the market goes up to 28,000, now what should you do? Should you do SIP? No. At most do like 70% of SIP, right? Your first criteria should be to develop enough cash position. So at least have 20% cash hedge for your portfolio, which means that if you have, let's say a 10 lakh rupee of portfolio, 2 lakh रुपए side में होने चाहिए, 20% cash hedge should be there. When should that be invested? Whenever you find the market at least 5% from the top or 10% from the top. Now this is your lump sum investment that you will be doing, right? So whenever the market corrects by 10% or 5% from the top, that is when you invest this. So this simple process is called a step down cash lump sum strategy. If you simply adopt it, it's not as if कि आपको दिन भर बैठ के लगे पड़े रहना अपने screen पे and all that. भाई weekly check कर लो. It's not end of the world. It's completely fine. Now that's point one. Point two is called as IRR, right? Internal rate of return. Now this is a complicated corporate finance concept. I'll not teach you much. But a simple word में होता है भाई, you know how much money or what is the target return I am targeting as a person, okay? Now for some people it would be कि भाई देखो हमें तो 4.5-5% after tax FD rate दे दो, हम तो उससे खुश हैं, okay? So those are FD investors. Now some people will say कि यार 12.5 वगैरह में मज़ा नहीं आता, right? At least I need like 20%, right? Now pick up the instrument in which you want to play this game. For example, if your target return is 12.5, you will not make this type of return by going to Nifty 50. You have to go to mid cap or small cap stocks or index, whichever instruments you pick. So you have to pick and choose. That's it. That's what I would say. Now the third segment is that I will talk about a few stocks on which I will be SIPing. उस particular portfolio पे, now please listen to these words, उस particular portfolio पे my return target is 15%. I am not trying to do any magic on that portfolio. There is a separate portfolio which is like a risk-free portfolio for me कि उसमें यार करीब 10% after tax 10% if I'm getting, I'm very happy with it. Then there is a consistent compounder type of a portfolio जो 15 से 18% की रेंज पे होता है. So this is what I will speak about in the next few minutes, okay? So उसमें मैं किस तरीके के stocks पकड़ूंगा उसकी मैथमेटिक्स में आपको बता दूं. सबसे पहले ये रही stocks की list. Now this is a list that I have released on the member community of my YouTube. This is not a stock recommendation. Everything is driven by analysis. Everything is driven by data. Everything is driven by facts and thesis. Investment thesis मेरी भी गलत हो सकती है, but I am at least helping you understand the rationale. So understanding the rationale is where the strength of your investment comes from. So let me explain this entire logic to you, and more importantly, every 2 to 3 weeks I will do an analysis of these 15 to 20 stocks. ऐसा नहीं है कि हर वक्त हम लोग खरीदते चले जाएंगे ये वाले stocks. The important point being that, okay, this is a rough list that we will look at. I will add more stocks to it, delete some stocks from it, depending on how market is progressing. And उन stocks में, because we are targeting that 15 to 18% CAGR, उसको update करते चले जाएंगे, right? So that's the intelligent way of doing SIP. एग्जाम्पल भी दे देता हूँ. फॉर एग्जाम्पल जैसे कि अभी आप देखो हिंदुस्तान यूनिलीवर विच इज वन ऑफ द स्टॉक्स ऑन दिस पोर्टफोलियो, राइट? नाउ एवरीवन नोज दैट हिंदुस्तान यूनिलीवर इज अ सॉलिड कंपनी. देयर इज नथिंग ऑफ विथ लाइक हिंदुस्तान यूनिलीवर की फालतू फंड की कंपनी एंड ऑल दैट स्टफ. बट प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है ऑन हिंदुस्तान यूनिलीवर टाइप ऑफ स्टॉक्स इज दैट बेसिकली यू बाय देम एट लाइक क्रेजी प्राइस, ओके? सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर आप यहाँ से देखो 22 पे था एंड एकदम से बढ़ते बढ़ते 3000 पे पहुंच गया, पता भी नहीं चला लोगों को, राइट? एंड पीपल आर नॉट इवन रियलाइजिंग इट. अभी आपने कोई हल्ला मचते हुए देखे कि हाँ यार रैली मिस हो गई हिंदुस्तान यूनिलीवर में ऑन ऑल दैट. But in the last 6 months, it has given like 32% returns. Okay. Similarly, लोग बहुत मजाक उड़ाते हैं कि अक्षत आपने HDFC बैंक के बारे में बोल दिया, हाय इतनी हाय तौबा मच गई, रिटर्न नहीं दिया भाई. Was that the only stock I had in my portfolio? No. In the last 6 months, it has given like 25% run up. These are consistent 15 to 20% CAGR type of stocks where you can put a lot of money, right? Whenever they are available at the right प्राइस टू बाय, राइट? अब खरीदने का सेंस बनता है क्या HDFC बैंक? नाउ यू विल कीप ऑन लुकिंग एट दिस. 25% रन अप हो गया इन द लास्ट 6 months. आप खरीद के क्या करेंगे? पिट जाएगा, ये हो जाएगा. सो हिम्मत नहीं पड़ेगी, राइट? इट विल गो अप बाय अनदर लाइक 15-20%. तब तो छूट गया स्टॉक, राइट? देन यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू बाय इट ओनली. द पॉइंट आई एम ट्राइंग टू ड्राइव होम इज वेरी सिंपल कि सी हियर इज अ लिस्ट, राइट? इसमें से जो भी आपको सेंसेबल दामों पे मिले, यू कैन कीप ऑन एग्रीगेटिंग इट. इट विल मेक सेंस फ्रॉम दैट पर्सपेक्टिव. These are not dangerous companies. Now, why are these not dangerous companies? Because the balance sheet for these companies is very clean, right? For example, if you take a look at the sales growth, right? Are their profits growing by roughly like 10-15%? The short answer is yes and yes. Do they have crazy amount of debt? No. Do they have any promoter pledged holding and all that stuff? No. क्या इनमें corporate scams होते रहते हैं? No. So the point I'm trying to drive home is that these are safer type of companies where the only consideration is price, right? Now this is the 200-day moving average line. Now HUL का stock always touches its 200-day moving average line. Now if you want to do a lump sum SIP on HUL, आपके पास money है and you want to diversify, should you be doing that bulk buy on Hindustan Unilever stock right now? No, absolutely not. वो गिरेगा अपने 200-day moving average पे, right? So then you should buy it in bulk. So far, I have been a holder of हिंदुस्तान यूनिलीवर स्टॉक सिंस 2010 और 2009 के आसपास से. And I have always had that stock in my portfolio. चाहे market ऊपर जाए, चाहे नीचे जाए, चाहे sideways जाए. But I've never purchased it more than a 200-day moving average line. This is the most important point. And if you are doing SIP in Hindustan Unilever, this is a simple point that you need to note. इसी तरीके की छोटी छोटी कमेंट्री होती है, इसी तरीके के कॉन्सेप्ट्स होते हैं विच यू शुड पिक, यू शुड एग्जीक्यूट. दिस इज हाउ मनी इज मेड. मनी इज नॉट मेड कि यार किसी ने बोल दिया SIP कर लो तो करते ही चलेगा एंड ऑल दैट स्टफ, राइट? सो आई होप दैट यू सी इट इन दैट स्पिरिट. चलो लेट्स पिक एग्जांपल नंबर 2 विच इज CAMS, विच इज अगेन इन माय पोर्टफोलियो. आई एम सिटिंग ऑन 130% प्रॉफिट ऑन दिस स्टॉक ऑलरेडी. सिमिलरली HDFC AMC पे आई एम सिटिंग ऑन मोर देन 100% गेन्स. नाउ इसके बारे में बात करता रहता हूँ. द रीजन इज दैट दीज स्टॉक्स इवन टुडे आर गुड स्टॉक्स. Now you'll say, "Yaar, Akshat, what kind of point is this, right? I mean, how can you say that these are good stocks?" Because if I actually look at it, जैसे CAMS का है तो it used to be at 2065. Now it is at 4,500. So double हो गया है तो stock. Now double हो गया है तो अब आगे चल के कितनी बढ़ जाएगा? See guys, basically the point is that if you are investing in fast growth industries where the profit margins are very high, where not a lot of money is required in terms of operational expenses, कि ऐसे थोड़ी है पोर्ट बनाते घूम रहे हैं CAMS वाले. नो, बेसिक जो उनको R&D करनी थी, बेसिक जो उनका क्लाइंट एक्विजिशन होना था वो हो चुका है, राइट? द बिगेस्ट रिस्क दैट CAMS, CDSL, CRISIL type of companies have are regulatory risk. Now if the regulation is clear, then these type of companies do not have a lot of inherent risk. So you always have to think from a growth perspective and risk mitigation perspective. Now, from a growth perspective, a company like CAMS will do exceptionally well in the future. CDSL भी बहुत अच्छा करेगा, CRISIL भी बहुत अच्छा करेगा. The risk is what? The risk is Jio Finance. Okay. Now, why am I saying that Jio Finance? क्योंकि यार उनके connections हैं. Now, if they try and start a similar business, who will stop them? No one, right? So it's important that if I'm investing, let's say 100 rupees on CAMS, I'll have an equal hedged position on Jio Finance, so to say. Now देखो यार, I put like 200 rupees, 100 in CAMS and 100 in Jio Finance. Now CAMS correct by 50%. But why will it correct by 50%? Because someone is eating that market share. So who is the number one candidate to eat market share from CAMS hypothetically, right? If something major change has to happen, it is most likely going to be a company like Jio Finance. अगर वो खाने लग गए share, right, Jio Finance वाले from CAMS, then what will happen to Jio Finance stock? Well, it will 5x, 6x. So आपका loss जो यहाँ पे हुआ because of investing in CAMS, it will get compensated here. So therefore, having it in your portfolio, updating it, hedging it sensibly are all small tricks that you must understand. Only then this type of investing makes sense. Okay, so from this list, I will also speak about something like HDFC Life, right? Now, when I spoke about HDFC Life, this is a stock that I picked right after COVID, right? I mean, around 2021, mid में कभी pick करा होगा. Since then, it has given very good run up. Now people are asking, should you invest in HDFC Life or not? See, if you're a long-term player, then something like HDFC Life makes a lot of sense. Why? You need to look at the Americanization of Indian healthcare, which is happening. Now in America, what happens? Well, any kind of medical care or medical aid is driven by insurance company. If you do not have insurance in America, you honestly cannot get treated. You will say कि यार मेरी उंगली कट गई है, जुड़वाने के लिए जाऊँगा, it will cost me like $200,000 to get my finger fixed. So leave it, right? I'll just work with like 4 fingers. That's it, right? So this is literally what happens in the US. Why? Because the cost of medicine is very high. Now why is the cost of medicine very high? Because insurance company lobby at the top कि भाई देखो सरकार हमें पैसा दे दो डायरेक्टली, हम देख लेते हैं आपका हेल्थ केयर, राइट? आप फालतू फंड चक्करों में मत पड़ो, राइट? सो दिस इज द गेम एट द टॉप दैट हैपेंस इन अमेरिका. This is the game which is happening in India also. There are different stages through which this will be played out. First step will be formalization of healthcare. Then those insurance companies will work with the government to get instituted into their social security schemes, etc. So if you are taking a 15-20 year viewpoint on an industry, then basically health life insurance companies are going to make crazy amount of money. This applies both to health insurance and life insurance products both. This applies to hospital chains like Max Hospital, Apollo, etc. Therefore, these are in my portfolio. Now, TCS is something that I had picked roughly like a few months back, 4-5 months back. Tab se it has given 40% odd run up. Right now, am I doing SIP? No, on this, I would not do SIP as of now. I think it is fairly valued. So I typically do SIPs even on stocks when it is somewhat sensibly valued. So I've created like a list of 15-20 stocks here. I will keep on updating this list. I'll make like maybe 30 stock की list and उसमें से I'll keep on doing SIP on things that make sense to do SIP that month, right? So I'll keep on updating this list and will keep you guys updated. Now some of you might be of the viewpoint, see boss, you know what, I just want to pick like solid companies that will do well in the future. थोड़ी सी रिस्क है, बट द रिवॉर्ड दैट आई विल गेट it will compensate for my risk, right? कि for example, जैसे इंडिया में the number of people who invest in equities are only 3 to 5%, right? So बहुत कम जनता actually invest करती है equities में, be it through direct equities or mutual funds. Now, if this number let's say goes 3 times, right? तो 10% हुआ, right? अमेरिका में close to 50% people are investing. Now, okay, so if 10% people are investing in equities, mutual funds, etc., then who do you think is going to benefit? Well, companies like Angel One, right? Companies like 5 Paisa Capital. So these becomes like very good candidate if you're playing that growth game. So if you understand this construct of your portfolio, then doing this type of step up, step down SIP, segmented SIP, it will make a lot more sense, and it will definitely create a 3-4% alpha on your profile. So I hope that this video actually helped you learn how to do smart SIPs. If you did enjoy the video, do press the like button, and I will see you very soon, and I'll make an updated video regarding more ads to this portfolio. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.